So is it better than the railroad? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Eastway. So let's have a look at the Hornby Lumo set. Now this is a full VAT version, so surely it must be better than the railroad. Right, so let's have a look at this. Now, I'll be honest, I have opened it and looked at it. So I've literally just put it back in the box so you get the idea of what it was like when it comes out. Obviously, there are two trays and they come out of the box. I wasn't going to show you that, but there we go. And you do get the traditional Hornby instructions, which are those, okay? And I'm not going to spend any time at all looking at this, but you know, traditional Hornby stuff in there. Some things are very useful, and there are some things in there which you need to know and sadly are not there. It's a shame they don't include HM7000 sound fitting as well, but which would be very helpful, I think. But anyway, let's have a look. So you can see it's wrapped up in the normal sort of cellophane type wrapping, and there it is. Now, I am aware there are loads of videos showing the Class 800, but there's only a couple showing the Lumo version. So that's the point of this. So you can see there, it is very nicely done, as they all are. I thought there was a bit of a mark on that one, but I think it'll wipe off. Detail is just absolutely beautiful. Printing is beautiful. And as I said before, when I looked at the railroad one, these boxes are all painted yellow at the bottom. I think they are different to the standard version because obviously it is electric only, this one. And I think there are some differences on maybe the coaches, I'm not sure. Someone suggested there was less equipment here, but this one does seem to be quite fully equipped, so to speak. That pantograph looks a little bit skewed, but I think it'll be fine. But the difference here to the railroad one is enormous, really. All this separately fitted equipment is beautiful, and the pantograph on this one does come up, as you can see. Very, very fragile though, and whether it will stay in the place you put it is another matter. Now, I am a bit surprised with the fan grills because, to be honest with you, you know it's a fan grill, but you can't see the fan. And I think it would have been nice if there was a potential moulding of the fan underneath. Maybe it'll come on another version, I don't know. I can't imagine Hornby have retooled it already, 7 years worth, but you never know. There might be an announcement next week for a newly tooled version. But yeah, it's like I said, there's two fans there. I'm not sure whether that's a fan or not. Maybe air conditioning, I really don't know. But as you can see, and obviously this one, you do have a cab and there are seats inside there. And you can see through the doors, which is really nice. Now, I will come to this bit in a minute, but you can see there all the seats very nicely done in there. You can see wires through that bit there though. I don't mind looking. There you go. You can see wires through here. But obviously there's got to be electronics in there, otherwise it's not going to work, is it? And then the end, I'm trying to get it so you can see the detail as well. It's just so much more refined than the railroad, obviously, because it's made for a different market, you know. And then looking at the printing on there, I'll try and get it as close as I dare. Hopefully you can see that. And there's different ones on each carriage as well. And these are nicely printed. I can't read it off the top of my head. London King's Cross, and I presume it says Edinburgh. Right, so let's have a look. Now, I've just filmed this once, and I realised the camera wasn't on. But I think it's absolutely beautiful blue, you know, absolutely gorgeous. Now, some people have said that the Lumo livery is boring. I actually quite like it. In its simplicity, the blue in itself is a statement. In fact, the centre car has got Lumo on both sides, and then the other two carriages have got this, which is Lumo proudly from Newcastle and connecting London and Edinburgh. And then this one, Lumo doesn't cost the earth or your pocket, I believe that says. So I do like these circles on both of those, and the Lumo badge in the middle. It really does. It is quite striking. Now, if we look at the carriage themselves, I'm not going to go through everything because they're all got ever so slightly different things on there, and it is quite difficult to see, I have to be honest. But I don't know whether it's going to focus all the closer. No, it's not. So you're going to have to take it from there. And if you want to zoom in, obviously feel free. But it just seems so refined. It really does. I quite like it. And there we are. So yeah, very, very nice indeed. So I'm not going to show you the other two coaches because apart from the odd little bit of detailing, they are exactly the same. Right, I was going on my merry way to fit the decoders, and then I realised I probably should show you this bit. But anyway, you can see I've got an HM7000 decoder there, and there's actually two. Okay, these came out of the Rail Adventure HSTs, which I had, and obviously they have now gone. Now, I didn't have any issues with either of these, and for the last few. Now, what have I done differently then? Well, I've used my phone for the start, which is, it's not the most up to date, but it's only a couple of years old. So therefore, it's considerably newer than the iPad I was using, which was a 2018 iPad. So I was thinking that perhaps the Bluetooth module wasn't quite up to standard. I don't know, it might be a reason, but I also use this now. I don't put the decoder in the train and then the train on the track. I put the decoder on here, and then that's connected directly to the Z21, as I've said before. So with a hardwired connection, it just was a lot more reliable. Now, I say all that, but having said it, it'll probably be the next one that will fail, won't it? There were 3 screws, as you can see, and they are just there, so they're really, really tiny. Now, when you take that off, obviously, you've got the 21-pin connector there, which is for the decoder, and there is space for the speaker. Now, I am going to use the speakers that come with it. So now I'm going to try and see if I can use the biggest. Yeah, that's going to go in there, no problems at all, isn't it? And there is definitely going to be space for Stay Alive. I'm thinking of the AE Stay Alives, which have got 2 tails. So I'm hoping that I can get it from there to there and maybe put the Stay Alives in that bit, the 2 smallest ones. And it wouldn't need a lot, but I think sometimes these trains, regardless of the size, just need that little bit of extra help. Now, you'll probably realise that these have got these 4 lugs on the side. I am going to snap those off, and I will probably use a little bit of black tack in there just to hold that nice and firm. I think it does need a little bit of help to stay put, but yeah, I don't think that's going to have any major issues. That goes in there quite well, and there's definitely space for it to sit in there, so there's plenty of height there as well, isn't there? So anyway, what I'm going to do then, I'm not going to show you me putting it all in, purely because it's quite obvious really, isn't it? I'll show you when I've done it, and we'll take it from there. So you can see that the speaker fits in there absolutely beautifully. I've literally just slotted it together, and I haven't actually put the speaker as such into that. There is a wire just there, which I'll probably try and move over a little bit more so that the speaker sits flat, but that will easily Bluetooth black tack into place, and there should be absolutely ample room for the stay alive in this area just here, which I think has been a problem on the 8-pin versions of these. People say that there's not enough space to put in anything, and the speaker size certainly couldn't put the big speaker in. But if I put that back on, that's not rocking, that is on, you know, so it should be absolutely fine. Now, I'm just going to show you the setup that I've put in more recently from the time I put the decoder in. Now, I've put in an AE Stay Alive in there, and that is one of those. Okay, this just happens to be the 3-pack. You can buy them individually. They're about £15–16 if you buy one, and about £45 if you buy 3. Okay, so it doesn't, you might save a few pence, but not much by buying the 3-pack. Anyway, so what I've got, obviously the AE ones are completely compatible with the HM7000, and you can see the wire, and it just plugs in just down the side of the decoder. And there's the 2 tails, and they fit beautifully either side of that socket there. I don't think the Hornby one would go in there. I've never had a Hornby one, not recently anyway, but I've got a feeling it would be bigger than that space with the hole in the middle. So I've got a feeling it won't work. This does have a central module, and I put some Kapton tape over the PCB, and you'll perhaps notice that there are components down this side, and that side there is a flat section there where the module has to really go, because it is quite height sensitive, if that makes sense. If you put it on this side, that won't go over the top, so it fits with that on just about. And obviously 3 screws there, that's still the speaker. But you might say to me, well, why do you need a Stay Alive in the dummy? Surely it's got pickups on both sides, both ends that is. Well, you might hopefully be able to make out the pickups in there. Oh, excuse the person outside. You can hopefully see the pickups just in there. If I show you the rear bogie, there are no pickups in there. And so when the train was going along, and particularly in push mode, so the main power unit, the drive unit, would be at the back and the dummy would be at the front of the train, the lights would cut out and would be off for a good 3–4 seconds going around a part of the track, and also the sound would cut out. And that was probably more irritating, to be honest, because it was really obvious that that was happening. Now, I did phone Hornby about this, and I said, is it only supposed to have one set of pickups? And they come back to me and said, yes, but we'll send you a bogie and with a wire on it, and you can literally just put it up through a hole and it would plug into that socket just there. And I thought, great, fantastic, that's really kind, thank you. And a couple of weeks later, I still hadn't received anything, so I sent them an email. And I said, is there any update on the bogie? What's going on? That type of thing. And he come back to me and said that he's got one powered bogie in there, and a Stay Alive should do the job. Now, I was going to put a Stay Alive in it anyway, but the fact that I was promised the bogie and I'm not going to get one, I don't think, is a bit disappointing. And also, just to give you a quick update as well on Tiger, I haven't heard anything at all about Tiger, so I've got a feeling I'm not going to be receiving any parts, even though, again, they were promised. So we'll see what happens. If I receive either a bogie and or some parts of Tiger, I will tell you and show you those on video. So just to be open and upfront about it. But anyway, so that's the reason why it's had Stay Alive fitted, but it seems to work absolutely perfectly now. And that's the main thing. Okay, let's move on. And just a quickie now from the Z21, you'll realise I've put one as 36 and the other end as 37, and because one end is a dummy unit, I can sensibly use the consist on the Z21 without any issues whatsoever. Right, so I do want to show you this because I did this with the railroad. Look at the speed it's going at now. No derailing. I'll say that carefully, but look at that. That is power car at the back and the dummy car is leading. And there are no issues at all. Just slowing it down now. So I think that passes that particular test, don't you? And just to show that it can move slowly as well. I'm not going to hold it here for long, but you can get the idea, can't you? There you go. So I dare say one of the biggest questions you may have is, will it go up the incline? It's down there at the moment. You might be able to pick it out. So let's get it going. Now I've deliberately put the power car at the back. That is the dummy car. And coming up to the most difficult section, you see it's not struggling at all. Now going over to the other side. That's behind the I'm just going to go across and change that incline point so that when the train gets back it won't derail. But you can see there's no issues with that, is there? I'm perhaps not going to have it running full speed on the outer line, kind of for obvious reasons, but there we go. I think that's proved another test, doesn't it? So, well done, Hornby. So there we go then. So what do we think of this 803 in Lumo livery? Well, I absolutely adore this model. I think it's such a great addition to the layout. It sounds great with the HM7000 and the biggest enclosure of the speakers they provide. And the level of detail, the fact it's got such a fantastic interior. It's not a basic interior anymore. You've got armrests modelled. And to be honest, in 2025, 26, you probably should have, to be honest. I mean, with there's so many extra added parts on the top there and varying other places as well, it does look absolutely fantastic. And I'm not going to lie. Generally speaking, with the Stay Alive fitted, it runs very, very well. Now the dummy car's also got a Stay Alive fitted as well. The lights are staying on as they should do, the headlights that is. And, you know, it runs absolutely fantastically at all speeds, whether it be slow, whether it be fast, that type of thing. It's pretty good. So that's not a problem from that. However, there are a couple of shortcomings. And the biggest one that you'll probably notice here, I mean, my living room lights are not that bright, I'll be honest, but you can only just about see the lighting in the carriages there. It is incredibly dim, and that has been widely reported by pretty much everybody who's done a livery review on any of these Class 800 sets. So from that point of view, the other one I would say is the bogie on the dummy car has only got one set of pickups, and I think considering that this model is more than twice the price of the Railroad, and that does have 2 sets of pickups on both the dummy and the motor car, I think it's a little bit of a shortcoming on this particular model, but it has been sorted by the stay lives I put in, the AE stay lives. Hopefully that will last and they won't start getting any issues there. If I do, I do have some DCC Concepts pickups which could be bent into a particular position and then placed in there, and with a little screw into the bogie it would work. Obviously I need to take a wire to the other end to connect up to the bogie at the other end, but again it shouldn't be too big a job if I needed to do that. But on the whole, I'm very pleased with this model. Will I get any more? I'd like to get an LNER one, so I've got at least one Zoomer a set, but obviously the price is a major factor, and considering I want to get at least one more Flirt as well, and I've noticed the 3 car are not in this year's Hornby range, so I'm now talking after the announcements have made. The 4 car one is, but the 3 car one isn't. So I can't leave it too much longer before I get a 3 car, because obviously I don't want to miss out on getting a second, but that's another story for another day. But on this Lumo set, I am very pleased with it. The colour is just extraordinary. I know we got it on locomotives, but we don't generally have bright blue trains like this one, and so I think it's a real addition to the layout and to this modern era that we've got. All right, I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you again very soon here on Piccadilly Eastway. You take care of yourself, and bye for now.